At my retirement dinner, my daughter stood up and told everyone I only survived because of her. Her friends laughed. A week later, she called asking me to co-sign her house loan. I gave her one sentence that made her cry for days. My name is Catherine, but everyone calls me Kathy. I'm sitting here in my quiet apartment, and before I tell you what happened, I want to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city or state in the comments. I love knowing I'm not alone in this. 37 years. That's how long I spent as a registered nurse at Memorial Hospital. 37 years of double shifts, holiday rotations, and coming home with my feet screaming and my back aching. I worked in the ICU, where every decision mattered and every second counted. I held hands of dying patients when their families couldn't make it in time. I celebrated with families when their loved ones pulled through against all odds. I missed countless school plays, soccer games, and parent-teacher conferences because someone's mother, someone's child, someone's husband needed me to stay just a few more hours. I remember one Christmas Eve when Ashley was 12. She'd made a gingerbread house at school, intricately decorated with candy canes and gumdrops, and she was so proud of it. She wanted to show it to me over hot chocolate and Christmas movies, but the hospital called at 4 p.m. They were understaffed and had 3 critical patients coming in from a highway accident. I went. I had to. By the time I got home at 11 o'clock that night, Ashley had gone to bed. The gingerbread house sat on the kitchen counter with a note. Mom, waited, but you didn't come. Merry Christmas, I guess. I cried in that kitchen, still in my scrubs, my feet throbbing and my heart breaking. But the next morning, I was up at 6 to make her favorite breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes, and she forgave me because that's what kids do. They forgive, they adapt, they learn to expect disappointment and call it normal. Or at least I thought she'd forgiven me. Maybe she'd just filed it away with all the other times I wasn't there, building a case against me that would explode 30 years later at a retirement dinner. My daughter Ashley grew up in that world. She knew that when the phone rang at 3 a.m., Mom was going out the door. She knew that Christmas morning might start at noon instead of sunrise because I'd pulled a night shift. She knew that sometimes dinner was whatever she could microwave because I was too exhausted to cook after a 12-hour day of keeping people alive. Did I wish I could have been there more? Every single day. But after my husband died when Ashley was 6, a sudden heart attack at 42 that gave us no warning, no goodbye, just a phone call from his office that shattered our world. I became the sole provider. His life insurance covered the funeral and gave us a small cushion, but that cushion didn't last long. The mortgage didn't pay itself. Ashley's braces didn't magically appear. Her college fund didn't grow on trees. I remember sitting at the kitchen table at 2 a.m, 3 months after Tom died, surrounded by bills and bank statements, trying to figure out how to make the numbers work. Ashley was asleep upstairs, and I was looking at a choice: sell the house and uproot her from everything familiar, or find a way to make enough money to keep us afloat. That's when I started taking every extra shift I could get. Night shifts paid more. Holidays paid more. The ICU was always desperate for experienced nurses willing to work the slots nobody else wanted. So I worked. I picked up extra shifts. I took the holiday rotations that paid time and a half. I became the nurse that supervisors called when they were short-staffed, because they knew I'd say yes. My body paid the price. Chronic back pain that never really went away, arthritis in my knees from standing for 12 hours at a stretch, exhaustion so deep that some days I felt like I was moving through water. But slowly, painfully, I built a life for us. We kept the house. Ashley got those braces. She went to a good school, had nice clothes, went on the class trips that other kids went on. I paid for her senior trip to Washington, D.C., even though it meant I'd be eating ramen for 2 months. I bought her a used car when she turned 17, even though my own car was 10 years old and making concerning noises. I covered her college application fees, her dorm supplies, her textbooks. When she called crying during her freshman year because she wanted to rush a sorority but couldn't afford the fees, I picked up another shift and sent her the money. I thought she understood. I thought she knew that every sacrifice, every missed moment, every exhausted evening slumped on the couch was because I loved her more than my own comfort. I thought she appreciated that I pushed through chronic back pain and arthritis in my knees because giving up wasn't an option when I had a daughter depending on me. I was wrong. The retirement dinner was held at Giuseppe's, an elegant Italian restaurant downtown that I'd always admired but rarely visited. Too expensive for a single mom on a nurse's salary. The hospital had reserved their private dining room, and 40 people showed up. Colleagues, supervisors, a few former patients who'd become friends over the years. The room glowed with soft lighting and smelled of garlic bread and expensive wine. A banner reading, "Happy Retirement, Kathy," stretched across one wall. There were flowers on every table and a slideshow of photos from my career playing on a screen in the corner. I'd worn my best dress, a simple navy blue sheath I'd bought specifically for this occasion. Linda had helped me with my hair and makeup, insisting I should look like the guest of honor I was. For the first time in decades, I felt almost glamorous, almost like someone worth celebrating. Ashley arrived late, making an entrance in a designer dress I knew cost more than I'd ever spent on any single piece of clothing in my life. She worked in marketing for a tech startup and loved to flash her success. Her husband Brandon trailed behind her, already looking at his phone. They'd been married 3 years, and I'd learned not to expect much warmth from either of them during visits. But I'd hoped, God, how I'd hoped, that tonight she might put aside whatever distance had grown between us and just be proud of her mother. The evening started beautifully. We ate salad and pasta while the slideshow played. There was a photo of me on my first day as a new nurse, looking impossibly young and terrified in my crisp white uniform. A picture of me holding a newborn in the NICU, the baby barely bigger than my hands. Another of the entire ICU staff at some long-ago Christmas party, all of us exhausted but smiling. My former supervisor, Patricia, gave the first speech. She stood with her wine glass and spoke about my dedication, about the time I'd stayed 18 hours straight during a massive car accident that brought in 12 critical patients. Kathy didn't leave until every single one of them was stabilized, Patricia said. That's who she is. That's who she's always been. Dr. Morrison, a cardiologist I'd worked with for 20 years, told a funny story about the time I'd caught a medication error that would have been fatal. The resident had ordered the wrong dose, an easy mistake The medication names were similar, but Kathy caught it. She always caught things. I used to joke that nothing got past Nurse Catherine. She saved that patient's life, and she probably doesn't even remember doing it because for her, that was just Tuesday. People laughed. They nodded. They looked at me with respect and affection. I felt my throat tighten with emotion. These were my people. This was my life's work, validated and appreciated. Then Linda stood. My best friend of 15 years who'd held me when I cried about Ashley pulling away, who'd helped me move into my new apartment, who'd been the sister I'd never had. She raised her glass, her eyes bright with tears. "To Kathy," she said, her voice warm and full. A woman who dedicated her life to healing others, who never complained no matter how hard things got, who raised an amazing daughter all by herself while saving lives. Some people talk about making a difference. Kathy actually did it. One patient, one shift, one impossible day at a time. You're a hero to so many of us, and you deserve every moment of this retirement. To rest, to finally put yourself first. Everyone raised their glasses. Everyone except Ashley. I should have known. I should have seen the way her jaw tightened, the way her fingers gripped her wine glass just a little too hard. I should have recognized that look. The one that said she was about to make everything about her. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. The room quieted. Conversations died mid-sentence. All eyes turned to her. "I'd like to say something," she announced, her voice cutting through the comfortable atmosphere like a knife. She picked up her wine glass and cleared her throat loudly, making sure she had everyone's attention. "I'd like to say something," she announced. The room quieted. Everyone keeps talking about how amazing my mother is, how dedicated, how selfless. She paused, and I saw something cruel flicker across her face. But let's be honest here. My mom only survived because of me. The room went silent, completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. "Think about it," Ashley continued, her voice gaining confidence. "Without me, what reason would she have had to keep going after Dad died? I gave her purpose. I gave her a reason to get out of bed every morning. Sure, she worked hard, but so what? Plenty of people work hard. The difference is I was there, needing her, giving her life meaning. Without me, she would have just been another lonely widow going through the motions." She took a sip of wine, letting her words sink in. "So before we all start putting Mom on a pedestal, remember that I'm the one who made her life worth living. I'm the reason she pushed herself. Everything she accomplished, she did it because of me. You're welcome, Mom." She raised her glass with a smirk. "To Mom, who survived because I gave her a reason to." A few of Ashley's friends from college, who she'd insisted on inviting, actually laughed. They thought it was edgy, clever. Everyone else looked horrified. Linda's mouth hung open. My former supervisor looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. The doctor who'd spoken earlier stared at Ashley like she'd just announced she was setting the building on fire. I sat there, my face burning, my hands trembling around my water glass. 37 years of service, of sacrifice, reduced to this. I only survived because my daughter existed. Not because I was strong, not because I chose to push forward every day despite my grief and exhaustion, but because Ashley, in her infinite generosity, had given me purpose, by simply being born. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of forced smiles and sympathetic glances. People tried to salvage the mood, but the damage was done. Colleagues gave me sympathetic looks and hugged me extra tight when they said goodbye. Linda whispered in my ear, "That was completely out of line. I'm so sorry, honey." Even people who barely knew Ashley looked at her with thinly veiled disgust. Ashley seemed oblivious to it all. She laughed with her friends, took selfies in front of my retirement banner, and posted them online with captions about celebrating Mom's big day. She kissed me on the cheek when she left, a performance for her friends, and said, "Great party, Mom," as if nothing had happened. She and Brandon left early, claiming they had plans. I stayed until the end, thanking people for coming, accepting their gifts and cards, pretending my heart wasn't shattered. Patricia pulled me aside before she left. "Kathy, what Ashley said was cruel and untrue. You're an incredible woman, and you built that through your own strength. Don't let anyone take that from you." I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. I drove home alone, my retirement gifts stacked in the passenger seat. I made it into my driveway before the tears came. I sat there for 20 minutes, crying so hard I could barely breathe. When I finally made it inside, I collapsed on my couch and cried until I had nothing left. Then I just sat there in the dark, replaying Ashley's words over and over. My mom only survived because of me. I gave her life meaning. You're welcome, Mom. 37 years reduced to, you survived because I existed. The next few days, I couldn't shake it. I thought about all the times Ashley had made comments I'd brushed off. The time she'd rolled her eyes when I'd gotten emotional at her college graduation, muttering, "So dramatic," to Brandon. The Thanksgiving when she'd spent the day with his family without even calling me, then acted like I was being needy when I'd mentioned feeling hurt. I thought about last Christmas, when I'd given her a photo album I'd spent weeks putting together. Pictures of her entire childhood, each one with a little note about what I remembered from that moment. She'd flipped through it quickly, said, "Thanks, Mom, this is sweet," and set it aside. Later, I'd seen it on her entry table, still in its gift bag, when I'd visited in March. I'd been making excuses for her for years. She's busy with work, she's stressed. She didn't mean it that way. But the dinner had ripped away all my illusions. My daughter didn't just take me for granted. She actively diminished me. She needed me to be small so she could feel big. Linda called me every day that week. Dr. Morrison sent me a beautiful email thanking me again for my years of service. "That young woman doesn't know what she has," he wrote. "But we do." I saved that email. I read it over and over, trying to remember who I was beyond being Ashley's mother, trying to remember that I had value, that my life had meaning that existed separately from her. A week after the dinner, my phone rang on a Thursday morning. I'd been sitting on my balcony drinking coffee and trying to read a book, though I kept reading the same paragraph over and over without absorbing a word. Ashley's name flashed on the screen, and against my better judgment, against every instinct screaming at me to let it go to voicemail, I answered, "Hey, Mom!" Her voice was cheerful, bright, completely unbothered. Like nothing had happened, like she hadn't publicly humiliated me 7 days ago in front of everyone who mattered to me. "Got a minute?" Brandon and I have some exciting news." I closed my eyes. The casual tone, the complete lack of acknowledgement or apology. It hit me like a physical blow. She really didn't think she'd done anything wrong. "What is it?" I kept my voice neutral, careful. "We found a house. Mom, it's perfect. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, this gorgeous kitchen with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. It's in Brandon's dream neighborhood, close to his office, and the schools are supposed to be amazing for when we have kids. We put in an offer and they accepted." She paused, presumably waiting for me to congratulate her. I said nothing. "Anyway," she continued, undeterred, "the only tiny issue is the mortgage. Our debt-to-income ratio is just slightly higher than what the bank wants. Brandon has some student loans and we both have car payments, and they said we need a co-signer to approve us. It's literally just a formality, Mom. We can totally afford the payments. We've done all the math. We just need someone with good credit to sign on the paperwork. It won't affect you at all." The audacity of it took my breath away. 1 week. It had been 1 week since she stood in front of 40 people and told them I only survived because of her. 1 week since she'd reduced my entire life to her existence. And now she wanted me to put my financial security on the line for her? "Mom, you there? I know it sounds like a big ask, but it's really not. The bank just needs the co-signer for approval purposes. We're putting 20% down, so we've got plenty of equity right from the start. You won't have to pay anything, I promise." Something in me cracked. Not broke. Cracked. Like ice spider webbing across a frozen lake, spreading from a single point of pressure until the whole surface is unstable, dangerous, about to give way completely. "Ashley," I said quietly, "have you called to apologize?" "What?" She sounded genuinely confused. "For what you said at my retirement dinner. Have you called to apologize for that?" There was a pause. Then, "Mom, come on, that was just a joke. Everyone knew I was joking. Don't be so sensitive about it. Besides, that's not why I'm calling. I'm calling about the house. This is important. This is about our future." My hand tightened around the phone. "Just a joke. Don't be so sensitive." The same dismissal, the same invalidation I'd been accepting for years. "So you want me to co-sign a mortgage for you?" I said slowly. "You want me to put my name, my credit, my financial security on the line for a house you can't quite afford?" "We can afford it," she insisted. "We just need the co-signer for approval. It's standard practice. And honestly, Mom, it's the least you could do." "The least I could do?" I repeated flatly. "Well, yeah. I mean, you have good credit because you never did anything with your life. You never took risks. You just worked the same job for 37 years and saved money. Brandon and I are building something. We're investing in our future. And you could help us, but instead you're making this weird and difficult." I stood up from my chair, my coffee forgotten. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Ashley, let me make sure I understand this correctly. You want me, the woman who only survived because of you, who apparently has never done anything with her life, who you publicly humiliated 7 days ago, to co-sign a loan that could destroy my financial security if you and Brandon can't make the payments. "You're being ridiculous," she snapped. "I said that was a joke, and we're not going to miss payments. We're responsible adults." Responsible adults who can't qualify for a mortgage on their own. "Mom!" Her voice rose, taking on that whiny quality I recognized from her teenage years. "Why are you being like this? I'm your daughter. I'm asking for help. Isn't that what mothers are supposed to do? Help their children." That did it. That shattered something in me that I hadn't even known was still holding on. "After everything I've done for you," she continued. "Don't," I interrupted, my voice deadly calm. "Don't you dare finish that sentence." If you're enjoying this story and want to hear more like it, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. "Ashley," I said, my voice deadly calm, "I want you to listen very carefully because I'm only going to say this once." "Okay." She sounded uncertain now, maybe picking up on something in my tone. "Yesterday I met with my attorney and restructured my entire estate. The house you grew up in, the one you assumed you'd inherit, has been sold. Every penny of my retirement savings, every investment, every asset I own has been placed into an irrevocable trust. That trust pays me a monthly income for the rest of my life, and when I die, every remaining dollar goes to the Memorial Hospital Foundation to fund scholarships for nursing students whose parents can't afford to support them through school." Silence on the other end. "You told 40 people that I only survived because of you, that I only accomplished anything because you gave my life meaning. So I decided you were right. If my entire purpose was serving you, then my work here is done. You're a grown, successful woman with a husband and a career. You don't need me anymore. And since I apparently have no value beyond what I could provide you, there's no reason for me to leave you anything. The nurses who will receive those scholarships, they'll actually appreciate what's being given to them. They'll understand sacrifice. They'll know what it means to work yourself to exhaustion for people who need you." "Mom, wait!" Her voice cracked. "I'm not co-signing anything, Ashley. Not a house, not a car, not a credit card. In fact, I think it's best if we take some time apart. I need to figure out who I am without being your purpose, your reason for survival. Maybe you can use that time to figure out who you are without someone to diminish." "I didn't mean it like that at the dinner. I was just joking. Mom, please." "You stood up in front of everyone I respect and reduced 37 years of work, of sacrifice, of pushing through pain and exhaustion to your existence. You looked me in the eye and told me I should be grateful to you for giving my life meaning. That wasn't a joke, Ashley. That was what you actually believe. And now you know what I actually believe, that I deserve better than a daughter who only calls when she needs something. You can't do this. That's my inheritance. Dad would have wanted me to have... Your father's life insurance paid for your braces, your school supplies, your class trips, your prom dress, and 4 years of college. Every penny of what I've saved came from my work, my extra shifts, my aching back and worn-out knees. This is my money, earned with my sweat and tears, and I'll decide where it goes. And it's going somewhere it'll actually be appreciated." I could hear her crying now, hard, gasping sobs. "Please, Mom, I'm sorry. I'll apologize to everyone. I'll make it right. Please don't do this." The papers are already signed, Ashley. The trust is irrevocable. That means I can't change it even if I wanted to. But here's what really breaks my heart. You're not crying because you hurt me. You're crying because you lost money. You didn't call to apologize for the dinner. You called to ask for another favor. That tells me everything I need to know. Mom, goodbye, Ashley. I hope that house works out for you. I'm sure you'll figure something out. After all, you're so successful and capable. You don't need someone like me, someone who only survived because of you, dragging you down. I hung up. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But underneath the adrenaline and the pain, I felt something else, relief. Pure, clean relief. The story spread quickly. Linda posted a vague message on social media about standing up for yourself even when it hurts. Someone from the dinner must have told someone else because my phone started ringing with calls from former colleagues. They'd heard Ashley had asked me for money right after that speech, and they wanted to make sure I was okay. I'm more than okay, I told each of them. I'm free. Ashley tried calling 16 times that first week. Then she sent emails, long ones, explaining that she'd been under stress at work, that Brandon had pressured her to be funny at the dinner, that she'd had too much wine, that she didn't mean any of it. She swore she loved me, that she appreciated everything I'd done, that she was sorry. But nowhere in those emails did she acknowledge the pattern, the years of small cuts, little dismissals, casual cruelties. She was sorry about the dinner, sure, but she wasn't sorry about who she'd become. She was sorry she'd gotten caught, sorry there were consequences. I didn't respond. Brandon's mother ended up co-signing their mortgage. Ashley made sure to post photos of their new house on social media, tagging me in them with captions about making it happen despite obstacles. Her friends commented with fire emojis and "you go girl" messages. I untagged myself and blocked her. 3 months later, Linda called me. "You need to hear this," she said. "Ashley's been telling people that you abandoned her, that you cut her off for no reason, that you're a bitter old woman who couldn't handle her success." "Let her tell whatever story she needs to tell," I said. "The people who were at that dinner know the truth. And honestly, Linda, I don't care what she says. For the first time in 37 years, I'm living for myself. I'm sleeping past 6 a.m. I'm reading books in the middle of the day. I took a painting class last week. A painting class. When's the last time I did something just because it sounded fun?" Linda laughed. "You sound happy." "I am happy." "Is that terrible? My daughter isn't speaking to me and I'm happy." "It's not terrible, honey. It's healthy. You gave her everything and she threw it in your face. You don't owe her your misery on top of everything else." The first scholarship recipient from my trust reached out to me 6 months after I retired. Her name was Maria, and she was 23, working as a nursing assistant while putting herself through nursing school. Her single mother had died of cancer when she was 19, and she'd been supporting her 2 younger brothers ever since. "Your scholarship literally changed my life," she wrote. "I was going to have to drop out next semester because I couldn't keep up with full-time work and full-time school. Now I can cut back my hours and focus on my studies. I can't thank you enough." I met her for coffee, and she told me about her dream of working in pediatric oncology, about wanting to help families like hers navigate the impossible balance of grief and medical care. She reminded me of myself at her age, determined, exhausted, pushing forward because giving up wasn't an option. "Your mother would be so proud of you," I told her. Her eyes filled with tears. "I hope so. I think about her every day. Everything I do is because she showed me what strength looks like." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "That's how you honor a mother's sacrifice, Maria. Not by taking credit for it, but by recognizing it and building something beautiful on that foundation." We stayed in touch. She introduced me to 2 other scholarship recipients, young people working multiple jobs, raising siblings, overcoming obstacles I couldn't imagine. They sent me their report cards, invited me to their graduation ceremonies, asked for advice about their careers. They called me Miss Kathy and treated me with a respect and genuine appreciation I'd stopped expecting from my own daughter. A year after the dinner, Ashley showed up at my apartment. I'd moved to a smaller place, something easier to maintain with a balcony overlooking a park. She stood in my doorway looking thinner, tired, older somehow. "Can we talk?" she asked. I considered closing the door. I considered telling her everything I'd been holding back. Instead, I stepped aside and let her in. She sat on my couch, twisting her hands together. "I've been in therapy," she said, "for 6 months now. My therapist helped me see a lot of things about how I've treated you, about what I said at the dinner." I waited. "I was jealous," she said quietly. "Everyone always talked about how amazing you were, how dedicated, how strong. And I felt invisible next to that, like I'd never measure up. So I tore you down instead. I made you small so I could feel bigger. And that night at the dinner, watching everyone praise you, something in me just snapped. I wanted to take that moment away from you." She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "I know what I did was unforgivable. I know I can't undo it. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. Not because of the money. I know that's gone and it should be gone. But because I hurt you. Because I took everything you sacrificed and used it as a weapon against you. Because I was your daughter, and I should have been your biggest defender, and instead, I was your biggest critic." I felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. A crack letting in light. "Ashley," I said slowly, "I'm glad you're in therapy. I'm glad you're working on yourself. But I need you to understand something. I didn't create that trust fund to punish you. I did it to save myself. I needed to know that my life's work mattered beyond what I could give you. I needed to know that my value existed separate from being your mother." "I understand," she whispered. "Do you? Because for 37 years, I defined myself by providing for you. And when you stood up at that dinner and told everyone I only survived because of you, you confirmed my worst fear, that all my sacrifice, all my work, all my exhaustion and pain was never really mine. It was just a side effect of your existence." "That's not true," she said urgently. "Mom, you're amazing. You saved lives. You helped people. You built a career that mattered. I was just too selfish and insecure to see it. Yes, I agreed. You were. And it's going to take time before I can trust that you actually see it now. She nodded, accepting this. Can I ask, are you happy? I thought about my painting class, about coffee with Maria and the other scholarship, students, about sleeping past 6 a.m. and reading in the park. I thought about not waiting for my phone to ring, not hoping for a call that never came, not making myself small to accommodate someone else's ego. Yes, I said, I'm happy. Ashley smiled through her tears. Good, you deserve that. We're rebuilding, slowly. Ashley calls now to ask how I'm doing, not what I can do for her. She came to one of my art shows, awful paintings really, but I loved every brushstroke, and bought one to hang in her house. She donated to the scholarship fund in my name for my birthday. Small steps, careful ones, but steps nonetheless. I don't know if we'll ever get back what we had, or rather, what I thought we had, but I know this. I'm not the woman who sat silently while her daughter humiliated her. I'm not the woman who measured her worth by what she could provide others. I'm not surviving because someone else gave my life meaning. I'm thriving because I finally saw my own value. And no one, not even my daughter, can take that away from me. Sometimes the people we love most need to lose us to understand what they had. And sometimes we need to walk away to remember who we are. I'm Catherine. I'm a retired nurse, a scholarship founder, a terrible painter, and a woman who finally learned to put herself first. And I'm exactly where I need to be.